Hey you guys, welcome to the So Can You Magnolia Romper Sew Along. I want to extend a huge thank you to Samantha Marie Design and Little Cocalico for sponsoring this month's Sew Along. Today I'm going to be using the cotton lycra from Little Cocalico for my Magnolia rompers. I have the most adorable, daintiest little hearts, and these seamless files were designed by Sam. I'm going to be using these two colors, the olive and the peach, for my Magnolia rompers. If you did not pick up some fabric from Little Cocalico when they were offering the $5 off sale for the sew along, don't worry, it's not too late. They have a ton of bases. This is organic cotton lycra and it has great four-way stretch. And I have put the link to their website in the description of this video. The other thing that you're going to need is your Magnolia romper pattern. If you haven't already bought that, I will link that in the description of the video as well. Once we complete the full sew along, you guys will upload your styled pictures of your Magnolia romper or a flat lay with your Magnolia romper. You'll upload those into a special album in the Samantha Marie Design Facebook group. From there, they will be voted on for your chance at shop credit from Samantha Marie Design and a free yard of your choice from Little Cocalico. And they have a ton of different bases, so just check out their website if you don't know what all they offer. Everything from woven to knit. All right, let's talk about what we're gonna need, what kind of decisions we need to make our romper. If you have already downloaded the pattern, then you know that the Magnolia is a pattern that is full, jam-packed full of options. And that can be a lot to digest for some if you're not used to patterns with a lot of options. Some it's one way and no other way. And what I love about this one is that there's a little something for everyone. So step one is decide what kind of bodice you want to make. There are two main options for our bodices. We have a scoop back bodice, and then we have the cross back version of the bodice. So that's kind of what you need to decide first. Are we going to do scoop back bodice or cross back bodice? Then you need to decide, am I going to do a lined bodice, or am I going to close the bodice with a band or a binding? So those are the important decisions that you need to make about your bodice. And then you need to decide on your sleeve length. You can do a sleeveless, short sleeve, 3/4 sleeve, or a long sleeve. If you are doing a sleeveless, you will need to do a lined bodice. There is not another option. You cannot do a band. Not with the pieces that are included in the pattern. So if you want to do a lined bodice, you will need to, if you want to do a sleeveless bodice, you will need to do the lined version. So that's what you need to think about first for bodice. And then the second option, the second choice you need to make is what kind of bottoms do you want? There's two options for our bottoms. There is a bubble romper version, and there is a pants version. In the pants version, there is a sub decision that you need to make, which is whether you want to do a straight hem on the pants or whether you want to add a band, a little cuff right at the bottom of the ankles. That's how you want to close your pants. And then there's another little decision for your pants. Do you want to do a pull-on, which basically means the pattern is all sewn and your child will step in from the top of the bodice and just pull it all the way on. Or you can do a placket, a snap placket, which will allow the leg holes to be open and you can pull it on over their head. So those are your options for the bottom. So that's your second decision you need to make. And then your third decision that you need to make is, are there any add-ons that you want to include in your version of your Magnolia? And the add-ons for this pattern are going to be our flutter sleeves, flutters are added to the sleeve seam here, and they're adorable and super cute. And you can add 1 layer or 2 layers, small or large flutters. And then would you like to add pockets? And the pockets for this pattern are an inset pocket, so they're a hidden pocket. Those are your options. So I'm gonna work through 2 separate rompers that kind of encompasses most of the options that are available. I'm gonna do, my first one is going to be a lined sleeveless scoop back bodice with pants that have cuffs. And the second that I'll be showing is a short sleeve cross back bodice with bands. So I'll do a band to enclose the bodice. It will have short sleeves, and I'll add flutter sleeves to mine. And that bottom will be a bubble. So those are the ones that I'm gonna do, and for the most part, that's gonna show every process of just about everything that you would need to make your magnolia. I am not going to add snaps to any of the ones that I will be showing, but I do have a separate tutorial video for how to add the snap placket to the bubble romper. And if there's enough interest in seeing how to add the snaps to the pants, I'll be happy to make a quick video for that. So I'm not actually going to cut the fabric since there's so many options and a lot to cut here. I'm not actually going to cut the fabric on camera for you guys, but I am going to show, I'm going to move my camera to the overhead position, and I'm going to show you what each piece looks like laid out to be cut. And I'm also going to show you what pieces you need for each of the options. I'm going to lay those out and take pictures. So when you're cutting your pattern pieces out, there are 2 main things that you need to pay attention to. First thing you need to pay attention to is your fabric. Do you have the right fabric that the pattern calls for? This pattern calls for knit fabric. I am working with cotton lycra. You could use French terry. You could use waffle, rib knit, double brush polyester. There are a ton of options. Waffle, jersey knit. There's tons of options. As long as your knit has good stretch and good recovery, it will be a good fit for this pattern. Now, when we're talking about fabric, we need to make sure we have the right fabric, which is knit, and we also need to be paying attention to the grain line and the stretch of our fabric. That is going to be marked on every single one of our pattern pieces. And we just need to make sure that when we lay our fabric out to start cutting, that we know which side is the grain line and which side is the stretch. So I like to hold it in my hand. Now this cotton lycra has intense 4-way stretch. So even the grain line on this one stretches quite a bit. So if you hold it in your hands and you stretch, you can see I am on the stretch line now. And if I flip it to the grain line, I am still gonna have stretch on this one because it is stretchy, but it doesn't stretch quite as much. The grain line is also gonna have the selvaged edge. This one doesn't have the little like staples that you can see sometimes, but it does always tend to curl as well. You can see how this kind of curls when you hold it in your hand. The grain line curls. So you need to make sure that you pay attention to what is the stretch line and what is the grain line when you're cutting. And each of our pattern pieces are going to show us which direction the grain line and the stretch needs to go. Now, knit patterns, the stretch is designed to go around the body. So we're gonna go across, the stretch is gonna go across our bodice, across our sleeves, across our pants and our bands. And the easiest way to remember that is if you were to cut the stretch the wrong way. So if the stretch would be going up and down. When you try to pull something over your child's head, you've got a neck hole that's about this big and you're trying to pull it over their head. If the stretch isn't going across and it's going this way, it's not going to budge as you're trying to put that garment on. So that's why it's super important, especially with our cuffs and things like that, that we have the stretch going in the right way. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and lay this fabric out and tell you guys what the next most important thing is to pay attention with our pattern pieces. So I'm going to grab a bodice piece and show you guys. This is the front bodice piece for the romper, and you will see we've got the stretch line noted and the grain line noted. You'll see they're opposite, obviously. From what I just showed you, one side of the fabric is the stretch and one side is the grain line. And then you've also got this little word here, fold. That is a very important word that shows us whether we need to cut all the way around our fabric pieces or if we need to fold to cut them. And this pattern includes, the Magnolia pattern includes two options for some of our pattern pieces. Like our cuffs are not going to be cut on the fold, but our bodice pieces, our pants pieces, things like that are going to be cut on the fold. So that is really important to pay attention to. If you think about it in your mind, you can think common sense. This would be cut on the fold here so that when you cut it, you have the full front piece of your bodice, both sides. But if you have never made anything like this before, that's not something you would think about. So I want to make sure and point that out because we do want to be beginner friendly with our videos. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to fold over my fabric. I'm going to change the view of my camera and I'm going to lay out each of the pieces that we will be cutting and show you whether they are cut on the fold and talk about the stretch and grain line of each one of those. So I'm going to move the camera and I'll show you all of those.